You're listening to the Joe Camo Show. Real sports, real talk.
All right, guys, excited today. I got Adrian Yanez, bantamweight, future UFC champ on the show. And I'll let you introduce yourself, man. I'm excited to have you on. I'll tell people why.
Oh man, Adrian Yanez, man. I fought on the Contenders in August, and then I just had my UFC debut on Halloween, the same day that Anderson Silva retired from the UFC. So, man, it's been a blessing, man. It's been great, man. I like 2 fights, one of the Contenders, one on the UFC, coming out with spectacular knockouts. That's a little bit of a bragging. I don't like to brag on myself, but there you go.
Yeah, I got a lot to talk to you about. So basically, I'm excited. I started the Joe Camo Show for people that don't know. And if you guys are listening on the Fantasy Football Counselor podcast, move over to my Joe Camo Show, guys. Head on over to iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Joe Camo Show, JOEKAMO. Look it up, subscribe. Eventually, I'm just going to put the show on there. I'm not going to keep putting it on the fantasy show. But one of the main reasons I want to get you on, and I've been excited since I started, I've been able to get Ken Shamrock on, Beneil Dariush. I'm going to get a lot of other guys, Tony, a boxer. He's an Olympic boxer. It's been super exciting. One of the main reasons I really wanted you on, I appreciate you coming on, by the way. I DM'd you as soon as I saw it on Fight Night a couple weeks ago, a week or so ago, is that we share something similar. We both lost our dads, and I think we both have the lion mentality. So I really want to dive into your psyche, your mentality, and all that stuff. And because, again, part of the main reason I started this podcast is because a lot of people are stuck in a 9-to-5 job. They don't want to take risks. They don't want to break out of their comfort zone. They don't want to adapt to lion mentality. And in a world of uncertainty, there's a lot of sheep herd mentality. And I kind of want to break that. And it's actually been Lion Week this week. I've had, like I said, Ken Shamrock this week. I've had a guy named Patrick McDavid. He's an entrepreneur. If you know him, he's got 3 million plus Instagram followers. He's huge. Patrick McDavid, look him up. You talk about entrepreneurship. But again, I wanted to get you on because I have so much to dive into, from your fight style to why you do what you do, to your dad's story, if you're okay sharing that. So, I mean, where do you want to start? I mean, maybe let's start off with your fight style, because I got to say, I want to talk about it. I'm pretty good at observing fights, and I'm going to say something right now. Maybe you can agree with me. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm really good at sizing people up and saying, that guy I think could beat that guy. Because again, I've been doing some fighting my own and stuff like that. So when I look at your fights, I think you fight, if you don't know, bantamweight, I think is 135. You fight bigger than you actually are. Does that make sense, what I kind of said when I'm looking at it?
I believe so. I think I get it. It's like you're saying that I walk people. I'm walking them down. I'm being like the aggressive guy.
Yeah, you hunt them down. You're powerful. You got a combination. You come in like almost kind of like a little bit of a Chuck Liddell in his prime. Like you're coming in, you're teeing off, you're honing. Am I wrong? Again, that's kind of the first. And I didn't watch all your fights, but initial highlight reel. That's the feeling I'm getting. Am I wrong? Like I don't know.
Oh yeah, man. I like putting the pressure on people. It's one of the things that I like to do. I like to push people, and if they drown, they drown. So that's the kind of mentality I get. Take them into deep waters and see how they do. I love that type of style, man. Also kind of runs back into the Mexican style type of boxing. You just keep going forward. No matter what, you just keep fighting, man. That's what I feel like I'm bringing over into the MMA game, from like the Mexican style, bringing it into the MMA cage.
How did you get started with this? Like what age? Like who got you into it? Was it your dad? What were your inspirations? How did this start? Were you just beating up do you have any siblings? Did you beat up your brothers? Like how did this happen to say, I want to be a fighter? Because it's a crazy profession. Like you got to have some deep reasons and whys to why you want to do it. And for me, it was the wrong reasons. I wanted the fame. I wanted to hold my hands up. And I realized that's not the reason to do this. So I kind of quit doing it. And I branched off, and it was good because it gave me some mental toughness for what I do here. But like, why? What is your why? How did you get into this?
Man, I have a couple reasons, man. Like my dad was a really big boxer, like really loved boxing, especially whenever he was younger. He competed in amateur boxing, and like whenever I was a little kid, that's all I would see was just him. That's all I would see is on the weekends, just watching boxing. It was all just boxing, almost like 24/7. And then he would tell me about his amateur fights and everything, how he did, won the Golden Gloves three times, and like that like was really cool to me. I looked up to it, and then it just kind of it just kind of evolved into something else, you know. Especially when I was small, you had all those fighting games starting to come out. I was playing Mortal Kombat and everything, watching wrestling,
Right.
and unfortunately, I was the younger one, so I had an older cousin and an older brother who would just constantly just beat me up. So I got being tough from then. You know, I used to be kind of like a little kid, used to be a little bit of a crybaby, cry for everything. But
Right.
you know, every single time, every chance that they got, they would pick on me and beat me up. You know, it just made me tougher, man. But I really I didn't step into a gym. Like I went into a boxing gym once, but that like it was just mostly just walking in, just seeing what they do. You know, unfortunately, we at the time just personal things were going on, especially like I was like 10 years old, and there was just a lot of like, well, about 9 years old, a lot of personal stuff went on with, especially with the family. It was just not a great time, but we didn't end up signing up. 15, like at 15, that's whenever I walked into the first gym with my mom out of everybody. Walked into the gym with my mom, and from 15 on, you know, I just fell in love with it and just wanted to keep going.
Where
Then
were
I
you
told
born
my
and
dad I had
raised? Where,
aspirations.
where were you born and raised? What state?
I was born in Galveston, raised in LaPorte. It's pretty much a suburb of Houston.
Okay.
Uh, like just a small little nice town, man. It's very small, nice growing community, LaPorte, man. Everybody's here helping each other out, you know. So it wasn't raised in a bad neighborhood. Uh, it's just I had older cousins that just beat me up all the time.
Right. So, but was it humble beginnings for you? Like for me, it was like money was a little tight for me personally. Born and raised in Hamilton, Ontario, near Toronto, actually. You know, it was humble. My dad was blue collar worker, steel worker. How was it for you? Did you guys thrive, or did you survive, or what kind of lifestyle was it?
Oh yeah, no, my mom would be working two jobs. That's just the way my mom was. She would be working two jobs. My dad would be working 12-hour shifts. You know, so it's like my dad was a hard worker, and the same as my mom. So like that, and everything that we wanted or we needed, you know, my dad made us work for it. So like that's where I also got the mentality of like going in and going after what you want, like, and really pushing hard for it. If you really want it, you know, you'll work for it. So like, you know, I got that from my mom. I got that from my mom and my dad. You know, we were raised pretty good. You know, really good compared to like if you go to Houston, you know, there's a lot of places that, you know, a lot of these kids are more unfortunate. Me and my family, we were blessed. Had a hardworking dad, and I had a immigrant mother who came to the United States and
Right.
ended up living the American dream.
Right. I didn't have any tissues on the side to start our dad story here, but I want to, it's sad for me. I don't want to get into it too much, but I want to say, like, I don't, if you don't mind getting into it. So what happened to your dad? Obviously this was a story that's, you know, the UFC kind of brought to light, which kind of connected to with me. And even my wife and I are watching, like, wow, you know, I brought tears to my eyes. You know, like what happened? Like, how old was he before he passed away? Was it cancer? How did this happen? And how has that really affected you? Is this really lighting a fire under your ass? For me, it has. Kind of what happened? What's the story with your dad?
Oh man, it was nuts because my dad also he was also hard headed. He also never like going to doctors or anything like that.
Same with
So
mine. Yep.
yeah, so he like anytime he heard a doctor saying something like, "Hey, you need to go get that checked out," I'd be like, "Nah, I'll be fine. I'm good. No, I don't need to go to a doctor to tell me what's wrong with me." So like my last amateur fight, me and my dad made a promise. It's like, "Hey, Dad, like if if I knock this guy out,
Right.
will you go to the doctor?" He was like, "Yeah, if you knock him out." And took the guy all the way to the third round and knocked him out, I think with 30 seconds left.
Okay.
After the fight, went to my dad, was like, "Hey, you got to keep your end of the bargain, man." And it was just for a checkup, you know, and so during that time, my dad was waiting for the VA papers to come through so he can actually go, because he was actually stationed at Camp Lejeune back whenever I think they had a benzene leak, and a lot of people were exposed to like cancerous chemicals at that time.
Right.
But you know, he was just waiting for those papers to pass through, and once those passed through, I think it was the year of 2015, the summer. We started going to the VA. I was taking him. I was taking to most of his appointments, and by that time he was still good. I just wanted to go with my dad, just so I could be around. And like the VA told us it was diabetes at the beginning because they were only working with so much. They were taking blood. They were taking blood from him and everything, but uh, he ended up having diabetes, and that's why like we thought my dad was losing a lot of weight just due to diabetes.
Right.
Uh, the day before Thanksgiving, my mom had the idea of going to this other doctor, and when we went to that doctor, he took blood and did a whole checkup on my dad, gave my dad like advice about diabetes. The next day, the day of Thanksgiving, that doctor calls us on the day off where nobody's supposed to be working or anything like that, but that doctor called us and told my dad, "You need to be in an emergency room now. You need to go get
Wow.
checked in right now. You need blood transfusion." His blood levels were really low, and it like I just remember just getting a call from my mom. Like I was at my family's house because I had every year we would go get because man it was nuts because that morning I was with my dad in around Houston, this place called Sugarland. It's like about 15 minutes out from Houston, and our buddy Mike Trin would always like do fried turkeys for us, and we went to go pick it up. My dad was there. He was having such a blast, man. It still breaks my heart to this day, man, because he was just having such a blast, man. Such a blast that day.
Right.
uh and I bring him home, and I was like, "All right, Dad, I'm gonna go take this turkey out to the family. To the family, I'll see you and Mom up there." And I get a call from my mom. My mom tells me that the doctor's like, "Hey, you need to go to the emergency room." I dropped off the food and shot straight to the hospital, and and it was real sad. When I walked in, I was just wondering what's going on, and they started running every single test on my dad, and like I know. Sorry for cussing, man, but the
No,
fucked up
no.
part was
Fine.
like a couple days later, man. Like on my birthday, man, I actually ended up finding out that my dad had cancer. Like on the day of my birthday, man. I had
What's the timeline here? What year are we talking here? When did this happen?
this. This was in 2015. 2015. My dad got diabetes. Like he was diagnosed with diabetes in the summer.
Okay.
And then by the time November November came, my dad got admitted into the hospital on Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Uh, 2015, November 29th is the day that we found out he had stage 4 stomach cancer. So
Wow. That's really
yeah,
weird because I lost my dad on Father's Day 2015. So I'm getting goosebumps here. It's kind of crazy. Same year. I didn't even know that. So, okay. So November 29th, he found out he had stage 4 stomach cancer. And then how long after that? So, like, what happened after that?
after that we man, it was a lot of things, man. There was one nurse who like looked at us and said like, "Hey, like you need to check out now and go to MD Anderson because us as a hospital, we do not have anything fit to treat cancers. Like go over there immediately." And that's what we did. We went into MD Anderson. It took a couple weeks because there's a lot of confusion and paperwork, and then finally, like we actually got settled in. There's a picture where my dad has his hands up,
Right.
like we're in the parking garage, and my brother took that picture. It was his hands up in the parking garage, like he was ready to fight cancer,
Yeah.
and like that was to me that was like shit. Like man, this is amazing.
Let's go. Yeah.
And 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 from there, uh, they ended up like getting everything set up, and my dad started having radiation treatments and everything. He had like about 10 to 12, I believe, 10 to 12, and they all went smoothly. They all went smoothly. I took him to every single one except his second to last one. I let my brother take him, and I was like acting like my I was acting like a protector's like, hey, when you go there, you do this, you do this,
Of
you do
course.
this, you
Yeah.
do this, and I was there whenever he rung that last bell, saying that he was done. with radiation treatment. Then he went on to chemo in January, and honestly, that was to me. I feel like the chemotherapy was the last thing, man. It's like that chemotherapy took a lot out of my father, man. Like
How long was treatment? You said November 29th we found out, right? And then how long was this treatment? What are we talking timeline?
like timeline, it took us like about 2 weeks to even hear back with anything. Like we kept calling for paperwork and everything, and it was just a lot. They ended up having to do like another biopsy on my dad, like trying to get another like get more tests and more results, because the paperwork from this hospital transferring over to the MD Anderson was just uh it was just really funky, man. It was just really funky. There was just a lot of messed up things that were just going on. And once we went over there, we admitted him for the second time. That's when he had his hands up. So around 2 weeks in, uh, 2 weeks in, uh, yeah, 2 weeks in, we actually like got him
Yeah, it's kind
down
of
with.
messed up.
Yeah, 2 weeks in, we got him into into treatment, and like we spoke with the doctor. The next day, we're on radiation treatment, like and everything, and we like. Yeah, I even took him on Christmas Eve and everything for one of his radiation treatments, and then even the next, like it was like a day after, like the following week we finished it off, and then I like the second week of January, not this early second week. That's when we started the chemotherapy, uh, and from there we did one where he had to hold on to it for the whole weekend. It was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then Monday we would go and take the take it off, and he would start another chemotherapy,
Right.
because he had like about three. He had to do like three different types. That because that Thursday they ran him an IV that had the chemo in it, and then on once he came back, he was gonna have another one. Man, but that the chemotherapy took a lot out of my dad, man. My dad had a hard time getting up, and just seeing like how my dad went from like this like really like broad man, like big,
Yeah.
like can't doing what cancer does is uh
Yeah.
shrinking and taking like a lot out of a
Yeah.
man, you know.
It's
So it was sad, man. It was heartbreaking, man.
and how old was he?
And he was like 58, I believe.
That's so
58.
young. Yeah, that's so young and that's so hard. I mean, I don't even know what to say. And the fact that it's drawn out and it's hard to talk about. It really is. I can see it's hard for you to talk about. It's hard for me because I can relate. Mine happened on a quicker level. I'll get into if you want to hear after, but I want to keep diving into this. But so when was the day he passed away? It was in January of 2016.
It was February 4th, 2016.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, it was a man. Honestly, it was a really it was weird. Like I can remember that day like vividly. I remember exactly what I was doing every single step of that day. Like it's like a day that I tell you right now, I'll never forget this day. Like it like and not in a good way for me, because I remember waking up, and I woke up happy that day, because I woke up happy for some reason. I was like, I'm gonna skip training today. I'm gonna skip training today. I'm just gonna go just spend the day with my dad, you know, and just have like just be with him all day. And I even had like I have like even just to show support for my dad, we were buying MD Anderson shirts, and I walked in there, and the first thing my mom tells me, just like pulls me out of the room, and just my dad was telling my mom that like he wants to go home. And that it like I remember seeing that, and like remember hearing that from my mom, and I just like it's either like it was one or two things, and I felt like I already knew which one it was.
And like it's weird. I got goosebumps thinking about that because my dad was suddenly with a heart attack the day before. Last day I spent with him, ironically, I had that same feeling. I felt good. We used to go to this park by my near where we live, right, and it's kind of by the beach. You got to by the lake, and it's really weird that night, like when we sat down, had the last supper with him, and I left because I lived on my own. He was living still with my mom and sister at the house where I grew up. I said, hey dad, like we haven't gone to this park, this beach area since we were kids. Let's go again. He goes, yeah, maybe not this week. Sure, son, but we'll do it. And it's almost kind of like, I don't know what you believe in, whatever people's beliefs are that are listening to this. Like, I certainly have faith. I'm a Jesus believer. I'm a Christian. And I almost feel like the angels are kind of around, almost kind of soothing your soul to kind of prepare you for this. It was really weird because that night there was like a calm with everything. And then the next day we found like he fell while he was mowing the lawn into a heart attack. And it's weird because when you said that, I'm just like, yeah, you kind of felt good. It was like a calm, right? Was it just me or did you feel like a calm? Like,
I felt that the day of and the day before, man. Like literally, yeah, my dad was up walking the day before, and that was like they were telling us just like eat, poop, and play, eat, eat, poop, and play. Then he can walk out of here, and like that was the last step for my dad was walking, for him walking, and like I took the picture because it's like I thought that was gonna be like we're going home, um, but like and so I was like happy for that day, and I woke up in the morning just like, man, I'm gonna go see my dad, and then that happened like that.
kind of like picking your poison. So I've thought about this. Now, with you, I mean, I want to say the bright spot of all this. It's hard for the victim of that's going through it, right? Because they're withering away, they're losing their power. It's hard because they've got a process that I could potentially be dying here, and that's something that I don't want anyone to go through, right? With my dad, it was hard because I never really got to say goodbye. There was no ramp. When you ramp onto a highway, you have time. For me, it was like, bam, I'm on the highway and it just hits you. It's like, bam. And that to a person, it's unexpected because I got the call because my mom and sister were at Costco and they came back and he was starting to mow the lawn. Usually I mowed the lawn, but he's like, he had called me that morning and I was cleaning my house. He's like, he left me a message like, Joe, where are you? Come home or whatever. I'm like, okay, maybe he needed me to mow the lawn, but I missed that call. And then basically my mom and sister came home and he was laying down face flat. My sister admitted, did CPR. He was laying there and it's like, so then they took him in the ambulance. At that point, we don't know how long he was down. None of the neighbors saw, which was really weird. I heard that after 5 minutes, you're basically brain dead. So this is a crazy story as I'm going in mine. We'll get back to yours. I just want to try to show you the contrast here. But basically they came home and they saw him laying there, CPR. They called 911. And I guess as 911 was coming, my sister calls me and she's like, dad is dead. And I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Right. Cause it's like, your brain doesn't want to accept it. I'm like, the dog is dead. I could have swore she said dog because we had a dog. And I thought the dog had died. I'm like, okay, yeah, the dog is dead. I'm like, shut up. Okay, what? No, you're not listening. And she's like crying. I can't, no, dad is dead. I'm like, what? No, shut up. And so I had my neighbor drive me over. And at that point, I guess he had left for the hospital, went to the hospital. And then basically I go to the hospital room and he's like, full out CPR, like 10 doctors. It looked like a crazy movie scene. Right. And he's laying there. And like, at that point I was kind of into MMA. So he was actually, it breaks my heart, but he's wearing my wrestling shoes because I was starting to get into some wrestling. So he's wearing because they're more comfortable for him to wear. And I'm seeing his lifeless body just sitting there and it's like, this is the man that you grew up, the alpha in your life, the role model, the lion. You thought that they were unbreakable and you see him laying there. So I yelled, right? It is crazy. I yelled, I said, dad, come back. Like, like Rocky. I know this is kind of cheesy. Get up, you son of a bitch. Mickey loves you, right? It's like, get up, dad, get up. Like, like, fuck, let's go. And I'm cursing. And it's like, it was something that it was surreal. And I remember every moment of it. And then basically what happened was he kind of started to get his vitals back. And then you hear the dog, oh, he's back. I'm like, oh my God, like he's back. Cause I yelled, I think he heard me. His vitals are coming back. And here I am getting hope. And then basically transferred him to a special hospital after that, where they opened up the valve in his heart. And now they're starting to, because there was 2 arteries that were clogged. They opened it back up. We go and talk to the doctor at the other hospital, say, yeah, it doesn't look good, but there is a chance, right? Because like, we don't know how long he was down, this and that. And then after fighting from this, he fell at 2:00 in the afternoon, 3:00 in the morning next day, which led into Father's Day, which ended up being a Sunday, right? It's like at that day, it's like he fought for all night. And then eventually the doctor sits me down and says, Joe, and you probably went through the same thing where they go over that bullshit talk where it was not bullshit, but it's real, where it's like, it's uneconomical. Like you can't fix it. There's just no way. Like I used to do hydraulic sales, uneconomical to repair. When you're talking about physical body, unable to revive. I don't know what the word is, right? It's like you reach that point where it's like there's absolutely, and he said there's no doctor on this earth that could come here at this point and save. I'm like, there has to be a way. Like, you got his heart back. What do you do? And again, going back, it's like there's a contrast of like, I never got to say goodbye. And sudden, whereas it was drawn out. Pick your poison, right? Honestly, Adrian, like, I mean, they're both bad.
Shoot, honestly, like my experience with what I was going through, uh, honestly, like I was really immature. I was like kind of really immature, and I really regret that to this day. I automatically called my brother. I was like, "Hey, like, we need you here now." He was at work. He was actually in the middle of a job, and luckily he works with my cousin, and my cousin knew everything that was going on. So my brother shot immediately, and he was literally on the other side of town. He made it in within 15 minutes, and it's usually like a 40-minute drive. I don't know how he did it, but he did it. And like, man, it's fucking heartbreaking to me, man. Cause like I really haven't told anybody or anything. This, man, is like my dad was saying that he's ready. He wants to go home, and he asked me to hold his hand. And I was like, me just being like, I had just turned 22, and like I'm looking at my hero just like
Yeah.
like just wither away, and I didn't want to believe it. And I was mad, I was angry. I was like, Dad, you got to keep going. Like, you have to keep going. And it was hard. It was really hard for me, man. To the point where I was just like, I was in my own way. I wasn't reacting. My dad was reaching for his hand out to me, and I was just so mad and just so like frustrated, and like didn't know what the fuck to do. And my
Yeah.
mom's there just on it, like just laying down with him. We had nurses coming in and out. His oxygen levels were in this wonky place because he never had to use one of those nose things before, and they put it on him just so he can breathe. And I was like losing it. I was internally just losing it, just seeing him just there. And he had all his wits about him. He had all his wits about him. My brother got there. My brother like I told my brother, hey, just sit here, man, and sat next to him, just started holding my dad's hand. And I remember just sitting there, and just like the doctor just started asking them questions, and it was nuts because right before like 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 the doctor asked him a question, my dad literally looked up to my mom and was like, I love you.
Right.
And
Yeah, it's hard.
yeah, and then after that, I was looking at this doctor like, what are you doing? Like, help.
Yeah,
And
it kind of gets to the point where they just can't do nothing, but they don't really tell you. They kind of just softly let you down. And yeah, it's definitely a very hard thing to process. But it sounds like you did everything you could have done. I mean, if you had not had that fight and told him to go to the doctors, this could have ended a lot worse, right? And in a sense that it could have happened quicker. There would have been no treatment. There would have been no foreseeing it. And it kind of would have been more of a shock, and maybe he wouldn't have had as much of a fighting chance. So you can't really say you regret anything, right? I mean, it sounds like you have some regret in regards to what age you were and stuff, but I think everything happens the way it's supposed to happen, right? I mean, no regret.
yeah, yeah, no, I just think about it like this, man. I wish that I held his hand.
Right.
I wish that I held his hand. And, you know, that's with me forever. So like that, like I think about it, and it fucks me up in the head for like about a couple days. Well, especially around this time, man. Uh, my birthdays are now like I just don't have a good time anymore, man.
It
Like,
just doesn't feel the same. It almost, and again, I think a lot of people listening can relate to this, and I don't want to be, negative here, but you never really get over it. It just kind of gets a little more accepting. You're like, okay, I've kind of accepted that they're probably in a better place. That's whatever you believe in. but it never just really gets better. Like Christmas is always a little weirder. The table's always missing an extra plate. They're like, I have 2 kids now, and I would give anything for them to just see him, right? Like it would just be, I mean, he would have so much fun just seeing them laughing. And he was kind of a jokester. So he would make some jokes and stuff around the table. And and the first Christmas, and maybe you felt it like this, it's hard to, you feel like you don't want to fill those shoes, right? You felt the same way, like you're sitting at the table. I didn't really want to sit in this spot. And when I did, it was very hard. Like I couldn't even swallow my food. Like it's very, very hard to take. It really is.
Yeah, it definitely was, man. Like I definitely didn't handle it the right way, man. I was definitely like pretty much like any chance that I had, like especially for the next couple of years, man, I was handling it all completely wrong, man. I was like especially on my birthday, like I didn't want to deal with any of it, so I just drink my day away. Like honestly, like I would wake up next day with the biggest hangovers just because I didn't want to deal with any of it. I was just, that's the way I had coped, and I had the like gratefully like I had the right people around me to kind of pull me off to the side and be like, you're different. Like this isn't what anybody wanted for you. That's not what he wanted for you. So like
No.
it helped me out. Uh, just for people to pull me off to the side and be like, you need to do better. And it helped out, like just having the right people behind me. Because if I would have had the wrong people behind me, I still probably would have been messed up over, still not like accepting of it. But
So what has this done for you now? Like you're in a 5-fight win streak, okay? And I don't mean to like, I don't want to move on from it just because I want to know that this is a negative thing, obviously, but for me, it was the best thing, it was the best worst thing that happened, if that makes any sense. Um, what is it like? How much of a fire has this lit under you? And again, hopefully people can relate. Kiss your dad, because you only have one parent, whatever you're going through. If you're having it rough, just say, thank you, dad. I appreciate you being here. I wish I said thank you more. I did spend enough time, but I wish I said thank you more. So what has it done for you? Has it lit an extra fire under you? Yes. Do you feel unstoppable? Is this like, do you feel his spirit and his power now with you? Like, how do you feel now about moving with what you're doing?
man, like it's very weird, man, because like for like a couple years, man, it was weird because like I could sense my dad like telling me and like just pushing me. And all up until my last loss, like I fought for LFA and I was fighting for the title. After that fight, like it took a second. I knew that like at the end of that fight that I wasn't tired. I was 5 rounds and you're not tired, there's something wrong with you. Uh like I wasn't tired. I just like I didn't push hard enough. I didn't do like everything that I needed to do, and I kind of realized that I wasn't doing this for myself, and that's like the biggest thing that my dad had always told me growing up is like if you really want to do it, you want to do it because you want to do it, not because anybody else wants you to do it. And the whole entire time, I was doing it for I was doing it for my dad, and I was doing it just because like my dad would wanted me to do this and everything. I was having that mentality, which honestly, that mentality can only take you so far before it's like it does nothing for you.
You gotta do it
And
for yourself and for your future too at this point, and people that are still alive, really.
yeah, and honestly, in a weird way, I'm still satisfying that like there because my dad, like I'm following what my dad told me is like if you really want to do it, you'll do it because you want to do it. And this is exactly what I want to do, man. And this is exactly why I'm pushing. And like even to this day, man, like I'll think back of a situation and just be of a situation that my dad had in the past. And I'm just like, holy crap, like that's what you were doing. Like, and I still like it's so freaking weird because I still learn from my dad to this day, and he's been gone for almost 5 years. And that to me is like I remember I was just like driving back from training one day, and I'm just talking to myself, and then I just started talking and just started thinking about my dad, like what would my dad do in this situation? Just start thinking about the
Yeah.
situations and everything, and I'm just like, no wonder he handled it that way.
Right.
I was like, no wonder. It's like, man, like you're a genius.
You're
You're
still
a
young. You don't
genius.
have a family yet. Do you have any kids, wife? No.
No, but I've been in a relationship with my girlfriend for about eight, like about to be 8 years coming this 2021.
Wow, good
So
for you.
she was actually like it was weird because my dad gave her a nickname and everything. He
Yeah.
usually doesn't uh weird funny side story is my dad actually like I remember like because my brother would bring home a girl and everything, like meet the family and everything. And then he had one stable one for a little bit, and he would bring her home and everything. And it was just just that situation. But me, I never brought a girl home,
Right.
and my dad actually pulled me off to the side one day. He's like, "Hey," he's like, "Are you let me I'm gonna be serious with you. Are you gay?" And I was like, no, why? Why would you think that? He's like, well, because I never see you with a girl or anything like this. And it's like he just starts like talking. I was like, Dad, like I respect you and mom's house. I'm just not gonna bring one random girl, one
Right.
random girl over and everything. But so like my dad actually gave my girlfriend a nickname, her own nickname, instead of just calling her Mija. Anytime a girl would come over, like bring a girl over, it'd be Mija, Mija, Mija.
Yeah.
But my dad gave my girlfriend like her actual gave her a nickname uh that we still use to this day. So that's a nice little sidebar that it it just makes me feel good.
Can we share the nickname, or is it a
Oh
private?
no, it's just pretty much just white girl in Spanish. But yeah,
That's cool, man. So, how old are you now? 24, 25?
no, I actually just turned 27.
27.
Just
My math is bad. There you go. My math is bad. You're 27. I should have looked that up. What do you walk around at? You fight at 135, which is very light, right? Like I walk around at like 210. I'm like overweight, probably. No. So what do you actually walk around? Do you have to cut to 135?
Yeah, I cut to 135, man. I know a lot of fighters that fight at 135. They out of fight camp. They're walking around 165, man. But
Wow.
I don't. I personally don't. I like to stay on a year-round diet, and just in case any type of opportunity comes in, stay in shape. You're on a diet, and if like let's just say if the UFC needed me to cut weight within a week, I can do it. Like I walk around like my heaviest is 155, but I've been consistently 151, 150, 152, just generally in that area. Like nothing too light, but also nothing too heavy. Just because like you never know that next big shot can be right there in the palm of your hands, and I'm ready to take all those opportunities
So
that present.
you're on a 5 fight win streak, but one of those fights is in the UFC. You've had one UFC fight, correct?
Yes.
So what is the next fight? I heard you're fighting in March against a
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. March 20th. Like literally. Uh. March 20th. I'm fighting a really like tough guy, man. Really, really tough guy. Uh. I'm actually really excited because it's like two Mexican style fighters that just that have that don't quit attitude going to be going at it, and I'm I'm pumped for it. I'm really pumped for it.
Yeah, Gustavo Lopez is the guy's name I see here. Now he won his last fight, but the fight before he lost. So he's not really on a win streak tear because he has that one loss in there. So he's probably looking to string up a win streak as well. But you don't want to at this point. I know how important if you lose one, that really takes a tarnish on your record. So you got to go in with this. You got to go all in, and leave it all out there, man. Honestly.
Oh yeah, yeah, of course, 100%. I'm not trying to lose. And like I'm trained to knock this guy out. I'm trained to finish at every single point in turn I can. This guy, he's really tough, but I see a lot. I see myself being able to handle what he brings. He's he's like well also too. I do very well with shorter fighters. Like he's 5'5", I'm 5'7", 5'7.5", and I have a
Nice.
longer reach than he does. And I tend and ever since the early days, I've been good with somebody who's shorter than me. I fought like a lot of taller fighters my whole entire career, so uh, fighting shorter people, it's pretty easy for me. It's easy for me to get my range and land the shots. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I really think I'm gonna get another finish.
I don't want to talk too much strategy in case he listens and stuff like that, but it looks like you knock out more and he does more submissions. Are you going to try to he's probably gonna try to take you down, is my guess, right?
Oh yeah, I believe so. He'll stand up with people. Don't get that wrong. He'll stand up with people, but uh I always think of it like this, man. I'm the striker. Even though I started off like my base is jujitsu, I'm the striker who's getting all the knockouts. Everybody's gonna want to put me on their back, on my back because they don't want to get knocked out. But I welcome the ground game too, man. I've been doing jujitsu for 12 years already, since I was 15. So I'm ready for it. Like whatever he wants to bring, I'm ready for it. Like I've been training.
Now, are
I've
you
been training for it.
black belt jiu-jitsu?
Oh man, I'm hopefully pretty soon, man. I got 4 stripes on my brown, so hopefully I get it pretty soon.
You know, it's weird. I kind of believe in the belt system, but at the end of the day, I'm one of those guys that I was a white belt for honestly like 15 years. It's just because I did a lot of no gi. I never got into the gi and I was really scrappy, but I've tapped out black belts. You know what I mean? Like they were in jujitsu. I tapped them out back in the day. I mean, they weren't the best black belts on the planet, like they were, but I still tapped out brown belts, black belts. You know, I get them in the old baseball choke around the neck. I'd come in.
Oh yeah.
Another thing I would do is sneaky. I was sneaky. I was scrappy. And I was strong and fast, and my cardio good. So we'd be grappling, and I'd come back. I'd get under their knee, kind of like this. I'd lean back, and I get it like an inline leg grab, and I just crank it. Tap. I know it was cheap, but it got it done. You know what I mean? I found ways to just scrap. Can opener, right? Can opener.
Yeah.
And I was relentless. Like I wouldn't tap. Like you might as well choke me out, and I'd get I'd very hard tap. So I was never like a finesse kind of jujitsu guy. I was just more like scrapping. I didn't really care about the belt system, but I was like a black belt in karate back in there, or like a red belt, the one before Taekwondo. That's as far as I went. So, but one thing that I noticed with champion fighters, I talked to Jamal Hill, and I talked to my friend Ryan Dixon, who actually. He's actually, I think, 31 now. He actually fought testicular cancer. He overcame his adversities, his demons. He was on like an 8-fight win streak in pro fighting. He never made it to the big leagues. Then went on a 3-fight loss streak. Just got kind of depressed, got upset. I had him on the show. Now he's in the I think XFC. He's fighting in that tournament for the welterweight. Won his first fight, beat the number 3 guy in Canada, just destroyed him at welterweight. Just absolutely annihilated the number 3 guy in Canada. But he's actually, I think he's going to win this XFC tournament and then hopefully get a shot at the UFC. But with the same type of thing I hear from all these fighters is that, okay, how are you going to beat me? You can't beat me there. Okay, take me on the ground, I'll smash you there. Take me standing up, I'll beat you there. You got to adapt that mind attitude, and you got to be well-versed everywhere. That's kind of the feeling I'm getting. So my question to you is, if there's any holes in your game, have you addressed them, and are you 100% and you feel solid everywhere, right?
Oh yeah, 100%, man. I'm also my worst critic as well. Like I will go back and watch fights, and see where, like, if I was fighting myself, what would I do?
Right.
What's my game plan? Like if I were gonna fight myself, and that's how I start closing up the holes. And I believe in my technique, and I believe in my skill set, and I believe in my ability to get these finishes and get these wins. But also you also have to have that little bit of reality, be like, all right, okay, I need to work on this a lot more. I need to work on this a lot more. Like, hey man, every time you throw your jab, you drop it just a little bit. Bring it back, bring it back. You have to work on the small, fine details. If you always just believe that, look, my skill set is gonna beat this guy's skill set. Like I have no holes in my game. That's whenever you end up getting you getting head kicked. Like dude, that Kevin Lee versus Gregor Gillespie.
Right.
Man, dude had a hole in his game. He would keep dropping his right hand, and Kevin Lee threw that freaking hellacious head kick and knocked him out. There's always things that you can work on. That's the thing about MMA, is that there's always things to work on. There's always things where you can push yourself to be better at. And especially for me, man, if you look at my losses, people have just always been trying to take me down. So, man, I've been working ferociously on my wrestling and my takedown defense and everything. So, man, I'm just ready for it, man. I'm ready. I truly believe, I'm gonna go in there March 20th and get another stoppage.
For sure. I'm confident that you will. I feel really good about what you're doing here. And I really appreciate your story. Like, for example, you said about wrestling, though, my friend Ryan, like he's actually wrestling the top wrestlers in Canada, and he is holding it down with them. If you can hold it down with the best wrestlers, that's what you need to be doing. And again, you just need to train for the worst case scenario at every position, right? So get those wrestlers, have them try to take you down. If they can't take you down, clearly a mixed martial artist that's kind of all over the place. You got a specialist that can't take you down. Then an actual martial artist, unless you're Habib or someone like that, is going to have a hard time probably taking you down, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%, man. Actually, we're gonna be having another guy come in. He's gonna be in for the holidays, but we're still gonna be training during that time. We have a guy named Hafyan Stats, is a phenomenal wrestler. He's in Bellator making noise. So I'm gonna get to work with him for a couple weeks before he takes back off to back to the Duke Rufus spot. I'm not exactly sure where that's. I think that's up north, Chicago or Wisconsin, somewhere in that area. But yeah, I'm gonna get to work with him a little bit, and he has phenomenal wrestling, man. He college wrestler. I'm not sure exactly how far he went into it, but the dude's been working. And then also too, I do have another training partner who fights at 170, but I'm always working with him in the wrestling department because that guy, dude, he consistently does things that I would never expect for someone to do. When we wrestle, he just does straight wrestling. He doesn't care about MMA wrestling. He goes straight into like, no, I'm going back to whenever I was wrestling days, and he'll hit me with the fireman carry and everything. Just do things that normally I wouldn't expect from anybody else, just to keep me on my toes. And also, it doesn't help that he's 170, so he's kind of ragdolling me a little bit. So it's good to get beat up every once in a while.
I just love talking to guys that are up and coming other than just the champions. Cause like you got so much upsides. Like I had Jamal Hill on my show like a year ago. Now he's stringing up more wins, and I can see this guy genuinely being a UFC champion. I can see you being a champion at your weight class. And I can see my friend Ryan Dixon making the UFC. I just love the fact that, hey man, I got in early, had you on my show, and I can go back to these videos, maybe even get you on again and build that relationship. Cause it's almost kind of like I believe in you before everybody else jumps on that train. And it's the same thing with fantasy football. Ask your friends and relatives that play fantasy. You said, some friends that play fantasy. We talked. But the thing is, like, I see talent before it breaks out. Like I've had people endorse my brand that are NFL athletes before they broke out. They're, Joe, how'd you know that guy? Because I see talent, I see upside, I see lion mentality. And that's one thing I'm really good at scouting out. And I see that in you. And again, I wish you nothing but the best. I mean, you're on a tear, keep it going, keep that momentum going. And yeah, I mean, like, what is your why though? Like, is it at this point, is it your dad? Is it like legacy for you? Is it a combination of both? What is that fire and where does it burn? For me, with my podcasting, believe it or not, I'm at war. Fantasy football industry. There's a lot of people out for my head. I'm the outcast of this community. It's a 60 million people playing across North America. It's a $7 billion industry. Believe it or not, it's a huge market. I'm at war every day. I'm fighting every day. It may not seem like it because I'm sitting behind a desk, but I'm telling you, man, I'm at war and I feel a fire burning in me every time I do a podcast, every time I'm competing. What is it for you? What's your why? What's it burning? Do you feel the burning? Do you feel the fire? Do you have it in? Do you feel it every day? How do you feel?
And I just wake up knowing that the end goal is being champion, but then after that, the goal to be set after being champion. Like I always set goals for myself, and whenever I set a goal for myself, I really do my best to hit that goal and hit that promise. I promised. Like I go back to it. I failed a lot of times in life, and those failures pushed me to this day. One of my biggest promises that I didn't get to fulfill was, getting a title and taking it to my father's gravesite. And that to me burns a fire in me every single day because I didn't accomplish that. I wasn't able to fulfill that promise. And to me, like, hey, like I might have not got it on the regional circuit, but now I have the chance to do it on the biggest stage and make this promise just a lot bigger. Then after that, man, like I want to do stuff like where people remember me. I want to be remembered as a great MMA fighter, but also inside and outside the cage. And so those are my reasons, man. I really just absolutely just love the game of the sport, man. There's always something to be learned. There's always a goal that you can set in front of yourself and actually chase it. The minute that you stop creating goals is the minute you stop losing that fire. So I'm always setting a goal, even if it's just if it's 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time. I am consistently making small goals in my day to make sure I hit them. Because then, man, once you look back, if you had no goals, you look back and you just see, like, you only see how far you got. You didn't get far. If you at least set small goals and you set the one bigger goal, is like, man, I used to be here. I used to be at this 1 yard line. Now I'm over here at the 50-yard line. All right, cool. I need 50 more yards to go to hit my goal, man. And that's the way I try to live it all the time.
Yeah, Adrian,
I,
I love the story. I love the upside. I love what you're doing already in the UFC so early on. Like I said, for a small guy at 135 bantamweight, you're hitting hard. You're looking like a Chuck Liddell in his prime. I like the way you look already. And again, I'm good at scouting out potential upside. I see you going very far in this division. And again, one thing I find with a lot of people in the UFC that I'm doing these interviews is that you guys are genuinely nice people. Like you would think that people are like fighters. Oh, these guys are barbaric. They're gonna beat me up. It's actually that you guys are really, a lot of you guys have really good heads on your shoulders and you're very driven and you're very determined, not only just in the ring, but actually helping people in life and just being a philanthropist and helping people with their goals and dreams. And it seems like that's kind of the general, not every fighter, but the people that I've come across are genuinely good people. And again, I just wish you guys nothing but the best, really.
yeah, man, that's exactly it, man. I know, especially in my experience, one of my first experiences in MMA or just like anything in general is my first jujitsu class. I got beat up by a girl. Like I got beat up by a girl that humbled the shit out of me.
Yeah, they're tough,
Then her,
man. Some of these
and then
girls, they're so tough.
and I got I got my ass whooped by her brother in kickboxing. So it's like, hey man, like you need to be like there's things that humble you. And then also just learning experiences, man. Like I was raised in, and my father was the type to give anytime he had plenty. Like he would help people out. He had, like if somebody asked on the drop of a dime, like, hey, look, I'm struggling, I need help. My dad would go out there and help him. Same with my mom. Uh, both like we're helping people. If somebody needed something and we had it, we give. So that's like it kind of helped build like that's how I am now. That's how I am now, and it helps it helps me kind of put everything in perspective because like at a point in time, like there was points in times where uh my dad was working very little. Actually, like get a little bit too personal is that there was a point in time where my dad didn't have a job. Like he was in between jobs, and we're still helping people out. And my dad actually ended up getting a good job. Which karma. My dad set up so much good karma that he got a great job, and he was able to set himself well financially. So just seeing all the experiences around me, like and just being able to help out, and you walk into so many different people, like from like jujitsu, man. You can walk into so many different people, uh, so many different people walks of life, and you get to talk to them and like hear their experiences and see how like where they came from, man. Like it's just nuts. Like it's nuts. You can see who had it rough, who's had it easier, but you can see that we all come together as soon as we hit the jujitsu mats. And even in fighting, you see all these great people who come from like who come from nothing and make something of themselves. And that, and to me that's very humbling, that's very inspiring. And then you get to hear people like I believe Stuart Scott with the V Foundation, all that. Like whenever he's talking, you like you give the sense of like, man, this like I want to set my aspirations to be like this man. Also, another good one that I like listening to, actually someone who I want to be more like is Mark Munoz.
Okay.
Mark Munoz is was a great UFC fighter. He was like hands down. Whenever I met him, he was the nicest person I ever met, and like the way he is, man. Definitely, I would aspire to be close to like him because he's a phenomenal person. And then there's a clip where he's talking to his son, and whenever I heard that, I was like, dude, that's how exactly I would want to be like coaching. I wouldn't want to be like that coaching or be like that to my future kids. So there's a lot of aspirations. There's a lot of examples that are out there that that are generally just good, and that's where I feed off of.
Yeah, no, that's really good to hear. And I'm glad that a lot of you guys are making a positive impact for the community. A lot of people do right after their MMA career. A couple of two more quick things. Just basically on the loss of the dad. One thing that gets me through, and anyone that's listening to this is sad about the loss in their life, and they're not sure what to do if they lost somebody in their life. I look at it like this is the thought that kind of gets me through. I totally believe, no matter what you believe in, I think they're in a better place. I think they graduate to another level of spirituality that's beyond our conscious awareness. That's one thing. And number two, I genuinely feel in my heart of hearts like I'm losing my train of thought here. I generally feel that because we're all destined to go, like we're not all going to be here, right? It's just that they kind of beat us to it. So it's not like, okay, we lost our dad. It's not like they weren't going to go, like nobody's getting out of this alive. So that's something that gets me through. It just sucks, obviously, because it happened. My dad at 68 could have got another 10 years out of the guy, 10, 15, 20.
Yeah.
It would have been nice if they lived to 85. There's a lot they missed. But again, a lot of people don't have a dad in their life. They don't, or their dad go. I have a sister-in-law who lost her dad at a young age. Like she never met him. She was like 2. He died in the war. So there's a lot of people that we got to appreciate that window that we had with them, cherish it. And again, we're all gonna go, right? So that's kind of what gets me through until we meet again, type thing. And until we meet again, we can really crush it here and make an impact, and then leave our legacy so that our kids can, appreciate us. So again, that makes me feel good. I mean, hopefully it makes you feel good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what gets me through. The last thing I want to ask you here, and again, because you're a lighter weight class, I want to talk about this. I had Ken Shamrock on, and it's a fan, because I'm into fantasy football, so I have a fantasy thought for you here, and I want you to break this down with me, please, because you're the best person to ask. So in my vision, okay, I'm saying me or anybody, if I think I'm the strongest fighter on the planet, right? I'm a man, you're a man. I weigh 220, you weigh 135. If you're 135 and you say, okay, I've beat up everybody at 135, I've stepped up, I beat everybody at 155, I can do that. I'm just so good, right? I'm so tough. Shouldn't you, if you want to, I'm not saying you're going to, this is just a fantasy, hypothetical. If you want to, shouldn't you have the opportunity to fight Bones Jones? Or I know it's crazy. I know this is crazy thinking, but think fantasy with me. But Bones Jones is a man, you're a man, right? Adesanya is a man, you're a man. Do you have the balls at 135 to step in with Adesanya? You'd be okay with that if there was opportunity, right? How do you feel about that?
Man, that's a weird question.
Crazy,
But at the same time, I love it. I get a nice little humble pie every once in a while. I step up and I'll spar with the bigger guys. I'll start landing, but also too, like you get a good 205er. A good 205er is gonna beat a great 135er.
Every time, would you say 9 out of 10 times?
Like, yeah, 9 out of 10 times, unless that guy has one of the shakiest chins out there. It's just one of those things that if they shoot in a takedown, you can get the submission. Like jiu-jitsu, or you can always submit the bigger guy. But you just get a guy who's just good, like a good light heavyweight, and then you fight. You're a great 135er. It turns out, it doesn't really work out for you too many times, man. It's happened to me a couple times. So hey, look, it happens.
Yeah, I'm just thinking hypothetical. It's exciting to think. I like the fantasy thought, but I'm just thinking, okay, I'm just trying to lay it out here real quick and we'll wrap this up. So I would give you the advantage probably on speed and cardio, but the thing is, the athletes of today, even at 205, they're like you, but just in a bigger frame. So that's what makes it so hard, right? It's not back in UFC 1, if it was you versus like any fighter there, I put money on you at the way you are right now. You versus Dan the Beast Severn, I bet you'd probably tap him out. You get him in like an ankle lock, or you do something, you get on his back, get your hooks in, and away you go. Right? Like, who knows?
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh yeah, man. I played the small game, man. I'd automatically start like acting like a little small mouse and just start crawling everywhere, man. Act like a little monkey, little spider monkey, man. Just hopping everywhere. But man,
cool though. It would be cool to see, just for fun. I'm a man, you're a man. I don't care what you weigh. Let's just fight. Let's just go. Let's just go.
Yeah.
You got two.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, man, you get knocked down the side of the head.
They pack more punch, right? There's more weight behind it.
Oh yeah, weight to the punch, man. You get knocked out with the jab. like, and also what would really suck is if they got the takedown and just started putting all their weight on you. Yeah, that would really suck, man. They having to deal with that for 5 rounds. Like, let's just say I go out there and I was gonna fight Daniel Cormier. Like, he just automatically takes me down. He just starts smothering me. Oh man,
Shouldn't you be training with guys like that more? Do you train? Because it's like, you know, when you put those old weights on your feet and you run and then you take them off, you feel lighter. Shouldn't you be doing that more? And do you as lightweights do that? Do you train with bigger guys?
Oh yeah, I have a like I said, man. I have a guy that fights at 170, Derek Gatchday. That's the guy I wrestle with. Like I wrestle with him so I can get so I can work on some of the muscles that I really don't. You can't go on a machine and work out. You
You have
know,
to get
you get
bigger.
yeah.
Get Brock Lesnar on you. You know what
Oh
I mean?
yeah, I wish. Yeah, I wish. Yeah, no, I got this guy. He walks around 185, 190, and I walk around at best like 155. So he definitely has like close to like 35, 40 pounds on me on some days. So
That's what
uh
you need to do. You need to throw those guys. You need to throw 200 pound guys like rag dolls around. GSP, I think, used to do that. He didn't matter what size, because it's leverage, his technique, and like just
yeah.
roll them around like rag dolls, so that when you get to a 135, man, this guy's nothing to me. You know what I mean? That's kind of what you should be doing all the time.
Oh yeah. Well, that's how I felt a lot of times, especially whenever I was an amateur and training with pros. Like I walked into the cage, I was like, man, this guy's I'm fighting another amateur. I'm so used to fighting pros.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nothing for me. So the same mentality.
Yeah. Well, Adrian, man, I appreciate it. This was an amazing talk, and I'm glad we got to connect. Yeah, man. Hopefully, this message got to some people, motivated some people, drove some people, made some people feel better. You know, highs and lows, and definitely one of the more emotional episodes I've had. And there's times where I really break down when I tell my dad. So I didn't get into it as much detail, but it's hard, and you know, we use that, and we just got to move on. We got to keep ourselves distracted, and that's all we can do.
Oh yeah, man. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Appreciate
man. It was great.
Yeah, Adrian, man. Thank you, Adrian Yanez. Make sure you guys follow him. And of course, I'll be posting your fights, cheering you on in my story more on Instagram. A lot of people do. And watch my story more thousands. So I'll make sure that, you know, when you're fighting, I'll be rooting you on. And it's weird when I build a connection with you guys, I'm talking to you guys, like my friend Ryan and Jamal. It's like every time I watch the fights, it's like I know I'm not you guys, but like I actually feel like I'm there. I'm like, man, you know, I get anxiety and I'm like, I don't want to watch. It's like, I just want to see a win, you know, and it feels good that you guys are all winning. So that's good. Knock on wood. Hopefully we can continue that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you for being here.
No, man. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your platform, man. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. We're out.